The hostages have returned home. Today, 20 of the living hostages from the Israel-Hamas war have been returned by Hamas, and they are now on Israeli soil. So Israel and Americans are happy about this, and the remaining 28 hostages who are slain but still in the custody of Hamas will be returning soon. In total, 1,300 Israelis were murdered on October 7th, or because of the October 7th massacre, and 66,000 Gazas have been killed as well. The death toll for Gaza may be higher. We won't know until more reporting is done. In return for the hostages being returned by Hamas to Israel, Israel has agreed to release 2,000 Palestinian prisoners. All of them may or may not be members of Hamas. They were just people who were detained throughout the course of the war. So those 2,000 Palestinians are on their way to Palestine, and some have already returned to Gaza. For once in American politics, both sides, Democrats and Republicans alike, are celebrating the news for a vast number of reasons. So you have people like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, who are high-ranking members and people of high influence in the Democratic Party, praising the Hamas-Israel agreement, as well as you have people in Biden's staff and people on the other side in Trump's staff, all in agreement saying that it's an historic event. And the reason that both sides are praising this is because in the Middle East, there's been a tension for a very long time, even tracing back all the way to the 1940s, 1947, 1946, going back to the World War II. There's been tension between the European Jews who have come back to the Middle East and the people currently living in the Middle East. There's been a tension, and the surrounding countries, sometimes it's been Egypt, sometimes it's been Jordan, sometimes it's been Iran, Iraq, just a host of countries. They've had different disputes with Israel. So this agreement did not come just at the behest of Donald Trump, who did announce it and played a key role in it, which even the Democrats are saying that it takes a village to come to this agreement. But the agreement itself came from Hamas, Israel, America, a Middle East countries such as Egypt and Qatar played a significant role. They got together and they agreed on a plethora of things. And it's now coming out that there's multiple phases to the agreement. So the initial phase is sort of like the honeymoon state, is the releasing of the hostages and the releasement of the prisoners. So both sides are getting their people back. But also we're going into the second phase where Hamas is supposed to disarm, and they're also supposed to give up their governmental control. And Israel has said that they will cease bombing because they had done a lot of devastation in Gaza. The concern now that the honeymoon stage it's not over, but the agreement's been signed and Israel has got its people back and they're beginning the process of releasing the Palestinians. The concern now is that Hamas will not give up power and they won't disarm. So the most important thing is that they disarm, and they haven't really shown that they are going to be willing to disarm, as footage has also already come out on social media showing that some soldiers, you can't say high-ranking members, but some soldiers of the Hamas military have been seen murdering people in the streets of Gaza. There's not much context, so nobody knows why, but there's speculation that some of the people who may have helped Israel are now being punished by Hamas as the Gazans return back to their home. So because the people are unsure if Hamas is going to give up, demilitarize, and give up power, there's concern that though this agreement has been agreed to on paper, that there may continue to be ongoing attacks from either side, because Israel is not sure if Hamas is gonna disarm, but also Israel's not okay with one of the but one of the possibilities that's in the 20-point U.S. Trump plan, and that is a consideration that Palestine can be considered its own state. So as I said, the Israelis are people who came from other parts of Europe, and when they came, they named it Israel, and it was accepted worldwide as being territory belonging to Israel. And Gaza has, though acknowledged as a place, it's not considered a country or it's not acknowledged on the national stage. What America and other nations are trying to do with this agreement is they're opening the door that the Palestinians can get their own recognized state internationally, but Israel, for potentially the purpose of greater Israel or security reasons, is not currently willing to accept a plan where Palestine is considered its own state. So because of this, some of the other Arab countries, not Qatar, not Jordan, not Israel, but some of the countries such as Iran, which is seen as one of the largest sponsors of government terrorists, places like that, since Israel is not willing to acknowledge Palestine, people are concerned that they may continue to fund insurgents. So with the possibility out there that Hamas or other organizations like Hezbollah, who has also been destroyed, not destroyed, but greatly impacted by U.S. and Israel forces, the concern is that though there's peace right now, because there hasn't been a greater resolution between Israel and all of its neighbors, there's concern that at some point, one of the power players in the Middle East who is not on board with the West and who does not see eye to eye with the West, at some point they may fund another insurgent group that will attack Israel, or Israel may preemptively attack one of the Muslim extremists, because Israel sees itself still as a target in the region. So they may act before they are attacked again. Last time they waited and they were attacked on October 7th. So Israel may find it necessary for their country's defense to be preemptive and strike one of the insurgent groups. So I'm not saying that Israel would attack another nation outright and start a war, but Israel may believe that their insurgent groups planning an attack, and in response of intel that they find out, they may strike a Middle Eastern people in the Middle East, just not tied to the government. Now, Trump stated that he believes that this peace agreement would not have been met if Iran would have had their nuclear power and had their nuclear capabilities. I'm not going to call them a nuclear power, but they were trying to create nuclear bombs. And the concern that Trump has is that had Iran still been advancing as they were prior to America's strikes, he believed that Iran would have been able to talk to the insurgents and the militias, and Iran would have been able to guarantee them money and also guarantee them weapons. So they need money and they need weapons and food to fight. And if Iran would have been not disarmed, but somewhat crippled by the American and Israeli strikes, because Israel also did its own strikes on Iran using drones, and had American Israel not done that, Trump and some other European allies believe that Iran would have continued to fund insurgents like Hezbollah and Hamas, which are the recent two. But there are other extremist groups in the Middle East and smaller places like Iraq, and not smaller, but countries that have not been in the news recently, such as Iraq and Jordan. So we will continue to follow the developing story in the Middle East, and as more implementation of stage 2 comes out, we will cover that, as well as when we learn more about stage 3 of the peace agreement. But for now, there's peace, and really the whole world, I would say, not just the Western powers, but even places like China and Russia, which are considered Eastern powers, are also hoping for stability in this region, because the Middle East is a huge importer of gas, and they affect the world economy. So it would really be better for the entire world if there was less fighting in the Middle East. If you like this video, please smash the like button, comment, and subscribe. New shows airing Monday through Thursday.